Hello and welcome back everyone to our next webinar. I'm really happy to welcome you here for the last one before in the end we will just get the winners of our raffle for this e-rack. And now I'm really happy to introduce to you Lasse Jiborn from AMCS Group, who's going to talk about telematics and how they have designed their telematics to capture rich tracking and telematics data like driving behavior, engine performance, fuel consumption from all your vehicles. And for that, I would say, let's have a look at what he has to tell us all about and have fun.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Transport Management System from AMCS. The Transport Management System is part of the AMCS Platform, and the most key and central piece of the whole transport management solution is the smart dispatch. This is where all the planning is happening, and let me show you what it looks like. So this is the regular landing page when you've logged in using our single sign-on solution. You land on a page that is custom to you as a user. Then from here, I can navigate to my smart dispatch screen. And here we have a dashboard that shows the resources available. So vehicles and staff being drivers or being helpers. And I have a vehicle availability and a staff availability overview. I have rostering, which is where we bring together the routes that we need to drive in the future with the staff, with the drivers, and with the vehicles. And then across the top here, we can see over at the right, 3 different teams actually. So these are Team Amanda, Team Mark, and Team Matt. And I have another drop down here, so I can have an unlimited number of teams. And these teams, they can be organized however we want to organize them. They could be by depot, they can be by line of business, or they can be by day of week. And in the way they're organized, I can click simply on the team boards and I see them all here. I can then click on one of them and then I see how things are connected. So we see here that this one here is mostly front end loaders and round work. We can see the actual employees that are part of that team and the vehicles that are part of that team. And I also have availability here. So from these screens, I'm actually able to prepare, for example, on the vehicles, I'm able to say whether or not a certain truck is at service or for maintenance. And likewise, on the staff, I can schedule vacation time or sick leave or anything like that. So this setup and this organization with the routes and with the staff and with the vehicles, I can then create a calendar that we call the rostering. And the calendar and the rostering is different from team to team based on how I've organized myself. So you can see here's the Team Amanda again, here's Team Mark, and here's Team Matt. And if you looked closely, you can see that we do have some red and some black, and I will soon explain exactly what that is. Now, just looking at Team Mark, for example, we can look way ahead in the future. There is no stopping us because the system will continuously apply the route templates with the availability of the trucks and the availability of the drivers. So I will always be able to see what my coming days, weeks, and months look like. Now, the red stuff. So if we look here on the 8th, we can see that there are 2 routes on the 8th, and I have a problem. I have a pretty serious problem actually, because I have 1 truck too few and I have 2 drivers too few. So this is a situation where on this particular day, I do have 2 routes that needs to be driven, but I have no drivers. And so I have to resolve that one way or another by adding another driver, for example. So it's quite simple then to just zoom in on the 8th and we can take a look at this better, and we can now see that there's a problem with the employee and there's a problem with the driver, and then we can drop down and we can solve the problem by assigning a different driver for that day, for that route. So once we have resolved this rostering piece, we are then ready to be actually doing the dispatching. And what happens from the dispatching perspective is we read from the ERP solution, all of the orders, all of the contracts, and all of the routes are coming in and then they're landing inside of this UI here. And so I need to, first of all, I need to set a date. So let's go take a look at June 17, for example. And on June 17 for the Team Amanda, you can see it's actually blank here. But if we go to Team Mark, then I can see I have 3 routes. I have a bunch of unassigned jobs, and then I have my map here. So the little pin here gives me the ability to then click on one route, and then I can see the full route with all of its stops in a list. And I also see it presented to me in a map view. So that map view will allow me to actually zoom in if I want to, and I can get further into the center here, and I can see the details of that map. I do have some controls over this screen, so if I want to, I can simply turn off the map, and now I can see only the routes themselves. And I can turn on another route, so now I have 2 routes next to each other, and this is excellent when I am about to move things around and say, let's move this stop over to this route, let's move this stop, and then grab a stop and just move it to the other route, and back and forth like that. So simple drag and drop technology here. I also have room for another. I can turn on 3 of these, but then my screen is too big. So then I can remove that selector, and now I can actually work with 3 different routes at the same time, dragging and dropping across the screen. But if I want to just turn that off for a second, and then we turn back on the map itself. There's another mode too. If I want to see everything in a bigger screen, then I can get my full list here on the left-hand side, and I can get my presentation on the map on the right-hand side. So that makes things much easier. So those are 2 of the screens we work with, the load balancing view and the detailed route view. We have a 3rd view here called the timeline view, and the timeline view uses our distance calculation that is integrated with the solution, and it's immediately reflected on my screen. So now I see the same 3 routes that we had before, but I can turn those guys on, and I can now look at what they look like on the screen in the map view, and I can also see how these stops are going to happen over time. So from here we can see that this guy is going to start at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's going to be done by 1. And I can then see the others are going to be done by 2 and by 3. So this is a timeline view with actual distances calculated, actual driving time calculated, and the map has presented the distances based on whatever that road net is that we're using. So we could be using a road net that is specifically set up for trucks and truck navigation. So it does take my my navigation of the height and the width of the vehicle, as well as the weight of the vehicle. So we are ensuring that we're driving on roads where these trucks can actually drive, and we're not going to get stuck under a bridge somewhere. We're also taking into consideration timestamps. So if we have a timestamp problem, it will show up on this screen as well. And what I mean with timestamp is certain stops, certain customers will require that the gates are open before I can drive in. So when we're doing these plans, we can easily say whether or not we fit into the gate, or we fit into the time window that is necessary. Another thing that is very interesting is the ability to actually optimize the sequence straight from this screen. So which means that if I want to be efficient, I can go back to the balance, the load balancing view. I will simply turn off my map, and I will turn on two routes, and then I can just drag and drop things across. And then we can take a look at this in the timeline view. You will now see that something has happened here. On the time utilization barometer, it's showing now 60%. This was 68% before. So we have removed stops from this route, and we have moved them into the second route. And so the second route is almost at 100%. And then from here, I do have the ability then to run a sequence optimization, and it will reshuffle my stops across, and it will come up with the best automation and the best optimization of these stops. I can also create my unassigned jobs, so I can also drag and drop my unassigned jobs directly into into my timeline here. And just again, as before, I can add the stop. It'll refresh the map, and then I can go in and I can say, please optimize my sequence, and then it will refresh what would be the best way to run this stop, and then he will come up with a new opportunity. And if you notice now, it took it from 68% or 63% in time down to 48% because it reshuffled all the stops, looked at the opening hours of each and every stop if there was one, and then reshuffled the stops so that it is optimal usage. Once I'm done with my planning, I can simply then hit publish, and the plans goes out to the individual drivers and their mobile application. And then from there, they will drive and progress during the day. The progression will be reflected inside of this screen, so I will be able to see what stops have been completed, and I can see how well we're doing across the day. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was our smart dispatch solution. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.